I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Well, my frightening friends, Awfully Good Movies is preparing to conclude the month of October with the arrival of Halloween. As costumed children troll the streets for candy, and costumed adults party the night away so that we can ward off the vengeful spirits of the dead. And while spooky ghosts may be an essential part of the Halloween mythology, let us remember that not all spirits are intent on haunting the living, especially when it comes to the case of the iconic cartoon character known as Casper the Friendly Ghost. Ever since Casper first hit the big screen in a series of animated shorts during the 40s and 50s, he has continued to spook his way across many forms of media, from comic books to TV series to video games. But Casper's biggest cultural moment came in the year of 1995, co-starring alongside Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci in his live-action film adaptation, with none other than Steven Spielberg in the producer's chair. And although that movie's success at the box office did not lead to a Casper sequel, it did lead to the production of a Casper prequel in 1997, under the subtitle of A Spirited Beginning. Although Amblin Entertainment still had the rights to make a Casper sequel, the character's owners over at Harvey Entertainment were allowed to make a mostly unrelated prequel to the film, which Harvey would co-produce for the direct-to-video market in collaboration with 20th Century Fox's home video division and those Power Ranger-loving bastards over at Saban Entertainment. But even with Saban's stranglehold on the kids' entertainment market, they could not help the Casper prequel find success on the video shelves, with critics giving the film a resounding 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. And even though Harvey and Saban would try again 1 year later with Casper Meets Wendy, the underwhelming video sales of both of these Casper follow-ups would end up convincing Universal Pictures to cancel plans for a Casper 2, with the friendly ghost yet to reappear on the big screen ever since. So let us come together for a cinematic seance so that we can help this Casper prequel finally rest in peace on this Halloween season. After all, Casper just popped up in a Geico commercial this year, so perhaps the kid is finally due for his big comeback. Hey, if Keanu Reeves can make a comeback and Eddie Murphy can make a comeback, then surely there's some hope out there for the undead spirit of a bald child who looks like a sperm. But first, let us put to rest another kind of spirits, namely those of the alcoholic variety, for this special Halloween edition of the Awfully Ghouled Shrieking Game! Take a shot or drink every time the movie cuts back to the computer-animated Ghost World, as our story opens with a skull-faced ghost train heading down the tracks with a cargo full of recently dead spirits. Sort of like a ghost version of the Polar Express, but with somehow even worse CGI animation. Among these ghosts is Casper the Friendly Ghost, who has not yet come to accept he's a recently dead spirit, and must ask his fellow passengers where the train is headed.
Hey, mister, what's going on?
Yeah, scram, deadbeat. I'm in a grave mood.
Where's this train going, lady?
The processing station. Now let me rest in peace.
And trust me, folks, if you take a drink every single time you hear one of these god-awful ghost puns, you will turn into a ghost yourself before this film is over. But then a surfer dude ghost gets fed up with Casper and throws his ass off the train, and thanks to a confusingly abrupt transition, Casper soon finds himself in the small, peaceful city of Deedstown, where the ghost is greeted by a Bobby McFerrin song on the soundtrack, as well as a cameo from one of the two returning cast members from the first Casper movie, Ben Stein. And yes, Ben Stein also happens to be the only actor to appear in the entire Casper franchise.
Awesome.
As Casper's appearance ends up frightening the citizens of Deedstown into a panic, with people tripping over garbage cans and ramming into old ladies on benches, the ghost finally comes to accept his recently dead status.
My feet! I am the ghost!
I don't think we survived that crash.
No!
Now, where the first film had Casper seeking the help of Christina Ricci and her widowed father Bill Pullman, Casper's human companion in this film is a young lad named Chris Carson, played by Brendan Ryan Barrett, who happens to meet every single requirement for a child protagonist in a kids movie from the 90s. Is he an outcast who's just moved to a new town and struggles to find friends at his new school? Check! Is he picked on by a gang of bullies straight out of a Stephen King story, complete with a female member who secretly has the hots for him? Check! Is he obsessed with reading science fiction, complete with shameless plugs for other properties owned by Saban Entertainment and 20th Century Fox?
The X-Files t-shirt!
Check! And does he have to make breakfast in the morning for his workaholic widowed father, who is played by Steve Guttenberg?
Check, please.
Yes, Chris's father, Tim Carson, is far too busy to pay attention to his young son, because he's busy working around the clock for the mayor to build a brand new mini-mall after he ends up demolishing the abandoned Applegate Mansion, in spite of the numerous protesters outside the mansion who don't want him destroying this historical landmark.
We're just here to improve our town by giving you a brand new mini-mall. We don't need another mini-mall!
With the protesters led by Chris's schoolteacher, Sheila Fistergrath, as played by former Aunt Becky and future prisoner, Lori Loughlin.
This place is falling apart. The best thing we can do is replace it with something useful.
Like what? Another burger stand?
Yeah, the idea of Lori Loughlin playing a school teacher is now about as funny as the idea of O.J. Simpson playing a cop.
You haven't heard the last of Sheila Fistergrath?
But it turns out the mansion is already haunted by a certain ghostly trio, made up of Casper's mischievous uncles named Stretch, Stinky, and Fatso, who get to work frightening away both the construction crew and the angry protesters with a whole bunch of dated pop culture references.
Bulldozer.
Budweiser.
You hate me. You really hate me.
You like me! Right now! You like me!
I learned this trick from my mummy.
Oh, come now, Fatso. You totally just missed your chance to make a then-topical Jerry Maguire reference.
Show me the mummy!
It turns out that the only human in this town who's not afraid of no ghosts is little Chris Carson, who feeds his interest in the paranormal by meeting up with the ghostly trio that's hiding inside of the undemolished mansion.
This is a condemned building. According to the Ectoplasma Britannica, it's a public place.
Fleshies ain't supposed to have this. Where'd you get it?
The Spooker Image catalog.
Okay, enough with these ghost puns already. Did the script get a rewrite from fucking Svengoolie? And when Chris runs into Casper on his walk home, the ghost is delighted to finally find a human who isn't scared away by his ghoulish appearance,
Oh wow, a ghost!
with the two of them quickly befriending each other and Chris taking Casper over to the mansion so that he and the ghostly trio can teach the young spirit how to properly spook people.
Now this is how most people think of ghosts.
What? That they're blind?
Let your ghostly instincts guide you, young spookwalker.
God damn you, Disney, you've actually managed to make a worse Star Wars sequel than The Last Jedi. And speaking of Star Wars, the legendary James Earl Jones actually happens to voice the main villain of this movie, named Kibosh, the giant green ghost who runs Ghost Central Station with the help of his sniveling assistant named, Snivel, as voiced by the Weasel himself, Pauly Shore, right after Biodome put a merciful end to his short-lived career as a film star.
You, the rookies, will be learning the A-B-C's of the ghost life. You didn't laugh at my jokes.
And since Kibosh is none too happy to hear that Casper has dropped out of his ghost training program so that he can instead be taught by the ghostly trio, he orders Snivel out to Deedstown so that he can bring back the friendly ghost, whose name he cannot even pronounce properly.
Especially little snot noses named Carter.
That's a Casper, sir.
Silence about this Castor.
Casper. Sorry.
Sure, this may be an unfunny running joke, but still, it's not the most embarrassing voiceover work in James Earl Jones' career. So Snivel watches from the sidelines as the ghostly trio tries teaching Casper the basics of ghost life, such as flying in the sky and passing through walls.
That's what the public wants. No faces.
Even though this film has previously shown that Casper is already able to fly and pass through walls, but whatever, just throw some more of that horrifically animated CGI into my eye holes.
My George, She's got it!
I'm now convinced of the existence of God and the devil, because I'm pretty sure that I just stared into the very bowels of hell! So now that the ghostly trio has gotten fed up with Casper and kicked him out of the mansion, his human buddy Chris now offers to help teach Casper all about proper ghost etiquette in the halls of his middle school.
If those three losers won't help you, then I will. Cause you're my pal, and buds gotta help each other, right?
You couldn't help a dead alien fall over.
Wait, what does that mean? Are dead aliens well known for their inability to fall over? But whatever! Let's just watch as Casper spooks Principal Bull from Night Court into running out of a bathroom stall in fright.
Smooth move, X-Lax.
Help! I need you right now!
Oh, come on, baby! Let me show you why they call me Bull! So if you remember the backstory that the first movie gave to Casper about him dying of pneumonia as a kid and haunting his father's mansion to keep him company, this so-called prequel pretty much ignores all of that, with Casper now haunting an entirely different mansion in an entirely different town. And with this movie being brought to us from the same director who would give us Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain, and the Bratz movie, we get to see Casper engage in a lot of stale slapstick, while he spends half the movie taking a backseat to this bland, annoying turd of a kid and his strained relationship with his father, Steve Guttenberg, who constantly keeps forgetting to attend his son's school events so that he can get this mansion demolished on behalf of the city mayor, who's played here by the only other actor returning from the first Casper, Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, this reminds me. I gotta see my dentist. Oh, my wife is very intelligent. It takes her an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes. Oh, I'm cool. Everything is cool.
And somehow I think that Rodney was far funnier when he was threatening to sexually molest his daughter in Natural Born Killers. So to get the mansion demolished, Tim decides that it's time that he better call Saul, or at least call an actor from Better Call Saul, Michael McKean, playing the role of a mentally unstable demolitions expert named Bill Case.
In your face!
What was that?
Just a little extermination job. Occupant has a gopher problem.
Okay, seriously, this movie has got Rodney Dangerfield, Brian Doyle Murray, and now a crazy guy hired to blow up gophers? Are we sure this isn't supposed to be Caddyshack, A Spirited Beginning? Actually, now that we finally teamed up the lead actors from both Short Circuit 1 and Short Circuit 2, then maybe this movie will become the gritty Short Circuit reboot that we've all been waiting for!
Do you think you can put this out, please?
Don't worry about that. Doesn't go boom without this.
My office is on fire! Hey! Hey!
Yes, kids, if you ever deal with a fire in your home or office, make sure you put it out by hitting it with a suitcase.
Be cool about fire safety.
Now, I'll admit, I sort of understand why Guttenberg keeps ignoring his son, as this kid whines on a fairly non-stop basis.
Everything's more important than me. You promised. You promised. I'm your son.
But where he crosses the line is when he promises his son that he'll attend a parent-teacher conference that afternoon, until he finds out from his secretary Debbie Mazar that his son's teacher is also the same woman who leads those pesky protesters.
Ah, I should have known. Parent-teacher conference. Ha! My Aunt Sally!
Yes, please, break your son's heart all over again simply because you were too stupid to find out that his teacher is also the same woman protesting your mansion demolition.
Ha!
And just as Tim tries to come home that night for dinner to try and make things up to his son, this is when the ghostly trio finds out that Casper has been performing some unghost-like good deeds around town by scaring off a gun-toting crook from robbing a grocery store clerk, who is played by special guest star Sherman Hemsley.
I know you're a ghost, but you just saved my life. Thank you. How about some jerky?
Oh, come on, Sherman. We all know you could have taken down that punk yourself. After all, you are the Steel Condor! So to stop Casper from giving Ghost a bad name, the ghostly trio ends up kidnapping Casper from the Carson household and dragging him back to the mansion, right before Chris finally has a chance to introduce his ghostly pal to his father.
This is ridiculous.
Why can't you believe me? Mom would've.
You have an overactive imagination. It is time to grow up.
And thus ensues an epic freakout where Guttenberg proceeds to rip the posters off of his son's wall and throw all of his toys away in the trash, except for the big bad Beetleborgs, copyright 1996 by Saban Enterprises. What an asshole! I bet you that Michael Winslow never treats his son like this.
You like your job more than me! Casper! How could you?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
And just as Chris tries to run away from home, he happens to run back into the gang of bullies, as led by the plant-based alternative to Zachary Ty Bryan, with the bullies dragging Chris over to the Applegate Mansion and locking him up inside the closet underneath the stairs, with the head bully throwing away the fucking key.
You are gonna die.
And as if this weren't already a fucked up thing for some middle school bullies to do, it turns out that Bill Case is already stuck inside this mansion and wired it up with high-grade explosives, so that he can demolish it under the protesters' noses a few hours from now. Of all the ways that I expected this movie to end, I was not expecting to see the lead singer of Spinal Tap accidentally blowing up a child in an explosion.
Dozens of people spontaneously combust each year. It's just not really widely reported.
Right.
Yeah.
And just as Tim finds his son in his runaway from home, Casper breaks free from the mansion and ends up spooking Chris's father, who thankfully calms down as the friendly ghost gives him some friendly advice on his lack of parenting skills.
He's only 10, Mr. Carson, and very lonely.
How can it be lonely? I'm always there.
No, you're always working.
You're right, Casper. We do need each other, and we love each other.
Well, it's good to see that the XC that Steve Guttenberg took on set has finally started to kick in.
Will you help me find him, Casper?
Steve, that's not where Casper's hand is. It looks like you're offering to shake his dick. So Tim and Miss Vistagraph drive off quickly to the mansion, and as Casper tries getting Chris out of the closet, Tim tries to get Bill Case out of his tree to surrender his detonator for the explosives, as Lori Loughlin drives her car into the tree so that she can get out of serving her prison time. And Tim grabs the detonator from Bill so that he can throw the detonator away, which apparently disarms the bomb. I'm pretty sure that's not how bombs work. Whatever!
You sniveling liberal pansies. My bomb's got a default mechanism on it. You can wave bye-bye to that rat trap in 1 minute.
Quick! Somebody get Thor to chop Michael McKean's head off! That'll surely make us feel better! But instead, Tim runs into the house to open the closet with a crowbar and saves his son's life, while Casper tries stopping the bomb by swallowing it Jim Carrey style, just as Kibosh and Snivel arrive on the scene to drag Casper back to Ghost Central.
Now I got you, you little...
That's a spicy meatball!
So now that we've seen Casper save the day with the help of his inflated ass, the film now ends with Tim promising to be a better father to Chris, while also beginning a romance with his son's teacher. And as the mansion is finally certified as an historical landmark, Kibosh decides to let Casper stay in the world of the humans after the ghostly trio claims to be the boy's family.
But he's not related to you.
Sure he is. We're,
He's, uncles.
Finally, after all these years of wondering, we now know that the uncles of Casper the Friendly Ghost were never his uncles at all! And in other news, the Mario brothers were never actually brothers, and Benedict Cumberbatch was actually Khan this entire time! Well, that about wraps things up. Anything you'd like to add, Pauly Shore?
The sniveler has sniveled his finest snivel!
Yeah, that's just terrible. How about you, Rodney Dangerfield?
As I've been saying all along. Hey, everybody! We're all gonna get laid!
Although that first Casper movie may not be remembered as any sort of masterpiece, it was still a well-made and enjoyable movie, which made a genuine effort in giving some depth to its title character, while Spirited Beginning is cheap and shoddy in pretty much every department, especially this repulsive CGI animation that glitches in the middle of scenes and even blacks out for a frame of the movie. But if you're looking for an amusingly bad piece of nostalgia with more cliches of 90s kids movies than you can count on your fingers, then perhaps you should let this Casper prequel haunt your television screen to close out the Halloween holiday.
Yes!
And thankfully, Saban Entertainment did not make any more reboots of 90s movies that I could possibly review for this holiday season.
From Saban, Harvey, and Warner Brothers Family Entertainment, Richie Rich's Christmas Wish.
And on the original soundtrack watch, where the first movie had a cover of the Casper theme song performed by Little Richard, this movie's opening credits has another cover of that song, as performed by the epic team-up of Casey and the Sunshine Band and Kool and the Gang.
Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Truly the best interracial music collaboration since Ebony and Ivory, and complete with a Casper rap. It's a shame that these two bands never collaborated again, because then they could have brought Kiss into the mix, and ended up with the most hilariously inappropriate name for their ensuing tour.
That's not good.
On the enjoyable-ness continuum scale from Bull to Bruce, Casper, A Spirited Beginning is the most underwhelming prequel to be associated with a Halloween movie this side of Rob Zombie, but still manages to spook up a 4 out of 10. I think that Fatso could sum up my thoughts on this movie far better than I ever could.
This sucks!
I'm Jesse Shade for JoBlo.com, and I hope all you viewers out there have a safe and incredibly fun Halloween this year. Hell, perhaps for Halloween 2020, I can even do the other direct-to-video Casper sequel. After all, it's got Kathy Moriarty coming back from the first movie, as well as, Pauly Shore, now in live-action form?
Wendy has meant a boo 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 boo, a friendly ghost.
Anything can happen on Halloween. Your dog could turn into a cat. There may be a toad in your bass guitar, or your sister could turn into a